I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Welcome back. It's Oops the Podcast. I'm Francis, and I'm with my dear friend and co-host Giulio Gallerati. Giulio, how are you today?
Yo. I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm swell. Everything's going. Everything's clicking. I'm feeling good. Positive energy today.
Love it, dude. Same. Beautiful.
I have to tell you, I had a bit of a windfall in terms of furniture.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Tell
Do
me
you recall
about it.
I was doing an alternate side parking a couple months ago, maybe, where I took a huge dump on Restoration Hardware?
That briefly remember.
Actually, I think I shit
did it
on
on
them
the
on the
podcast,
podcast too. Yeah. Well, turns out we mended fences. They didn't do anything. I just decided that their cloud couches are so comfortable that I had to have one. And by the way, they are not paying me to say this. In fact, I wish I weren't saying it because I don't like to give free advertisements. But
It's all right.
I went to their outlet store,
Where's that?
Studio City, near Sunset Park.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's like right off the
We're at the BQE. I know exactly right.
as
where
you're
it is.
heading towards the bridge that takes you to Staten Island.
Verrazzano.
Yeah, it's a place you would never go unless you had a car.
Totally.
So I went there after alternate side parking Thursday this week, and my girlfriend has been hounding us to upgrade our couch because our couch was meant for our old apartment, which was smaller, and now it looks a little bit small in the new place. And we listed it on Facebook Marketplace, and a bunch of people sent out, we got a bunch of nibbles.
Love a nibble.
So then I thought, okay, well, if we've got all these nibbles, then I have the license to go look for an upgrade to the couch. You know what I'm saying?
You totally.
Got fish on the line. We can afford to open a fish store. Does that make sense?
A fish door or a fish store?
Store. I can get into the fish business
Got it.
now that I've got these nibbles.
No, you got a couple. Yeah.
Now that I've got the nibbles. So I drove. I knew that the Restoration Hardware store, the outlet store, was opening at 11 a.m., right?
Okay.
And I knew that when you get there first, you've got the first pickings, but you got to be there early.
What is this like?
So Restoration
Foot Locker?
Hardware is like the most expensive furniture.
I get that, dude, but it's not
ever.
like there's a line out the door every single day to get into it.
At
Like,
the
so things are just flying off the lot.
There are certain things that Restoration Hardware makes that are highly coveted items. And the people who work at the outlet store have personal client lists that they text
Wow.
when those items come in.
And the cloud couch is one of them.
The cloud couch is sort of the creme de la creme, which in French means the cream of the cream.
Thank you for that clarification.
Well, I speak French, so I felt like I had to
It was very unclear what
utilize
that meant.
that skill.
That was like, I'll have the soup du jour. What's that? The soup of the day.
Yeah.
I'll have that.
Now, some people say cream of the crop, which is more of an Americanized version. And I don't know what cream of crop means because most crops don't have cream.
The cream of the crop. Yeah, I don't
Is
know.
that cream of wheat?
I just assumed
Wheat
that
is a crop.
the cream of the crop must have meant that the cream is the best crop of the harvest.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they say top of the crop? I mean, that rhymes.
Top of the crop does rhyme.
Yeah.
Cream of the crop, top of the crop.
And then the bottom would be the crap of the crop. Anyway, moving on. So the cream of the cream, right, is the cloud couch from Restoration Hardware. And I always thought it was a little gimmicky because it's just a massive bed. It's ridiculously comfortable. It's so comfortable that it makes other couches feel like cots.
It's very comfortable.
It's nuts. But they're hard to find, right? And the way that the outlet store in Studio City works, as I think a lot of outlet stores work for Restoration Hardware, is they will sell floor models that were featured in the flagship stores, in the main stores, right? So a lot of the time, the couches and furniture that's coming in there has either been sat upon by hordes of prospective buyers or it's dinged up. It has a couple, scrapes and
Correct.
stains, whatever it is.
Or just like didn't meet the factory standards.
Correct. And as a result, you get 40% off, which makes it a little easier to stomach.
Right.
And I went in there just hopeful, right? No idea of what I was going to find, but I got there 15 minutes before the store opened. And the doors were open because people were unloading trucks of furniture into the store. And I walked in.
You infiltrated the
I walked
Restoration
in,
Hardware outlet.
and they were like, "Hey, buddy, listen, we're not quite open yet, but by now I'm already in the store, right? So once you're through the gates, I mean, what are they going to do? Tell me to go wait outside?"
I mean, maybe.
I was bigger than they were. So I was like, all right, well, then I guess I'll just wait. And I went and waited outside. I don't know why I made that joke. I did exactly what well, here's what happened. I went and waited outside, but I was only wearing my sweatshirt because I thought I was going to be allowed to come inside. So it was cold. And that Studio City is right on the water. So it's windy and cold. And they saw me and saw me in my sweatshirt and they were like, well, you can wait inside. So they let me come back inside. And then once I was in
inventory.
Dude, once I was in, it's 10:50. The store opens at 11 a.m. Once I'm in the store, they said, "Do you know what you're looking for?" And I said, "Cloud couch." And they go, "We got one today."
Wow.
And I was like, "Where is it?" And they were like, "All right, just here it is." And they pointed to it, right? Now, white cloud couch, performance fabric, which means very stain resistant and much easier to clean,
Love
right?
it.
It was the luxe version, which means it's 45 inches deep. And I don't know how familiar you are with the dimensions of couches.
I'm not at
That's
all,
a
yeah.
deep couch. That is a deep couch.
This is a deep couch, dude.
Yeah. So very, very deep, really nice. And here's the kicker. It had not come from the floor of the regular store. It was simply an overstock.
Wow.
This couch
Too many
had
cloud
just
couches.
been taken out of the box for the first time. I was the only person that had ever sat upon the couch.
You pop the cherry of the couch.
Spotless.
You're the first one to smell the luxe fabric.
Exactly.
Dude,
I destroyed its hymen.
the next time I go to somebody's house who just bought a couch, I'm going to talk about the depth. Do you think
Yeah.
they'll be impressed?
Yeah.
Like, dude, this couch is deep.
Listen. Yeah, deep couch.
Deep couch, bro.
You almost want your feet to dangle.
Oh, gotcha.
You want to be
Oh.
sitting so far back that you look like a little boy.
and your feet are
Yeah,
kicking
twiddling your toes.
your little sandals.
So
Can we get ice cream?
get this though, right? I asked the lady who worked there, I said, "Is this a good deal? Is this a good situation?" It was 40% off. And she goes, "I've got 5 people coming in here in 10 minutes to buy this couch."
Jesus.
And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow." Now, what do you think happened next?
Were you like, what are you going to tell them?
Dude,
Like, why were they? Yeah, like,
I guess it's a hard question. Do you think that I just was like, "All right, I'll buy it right now"?
yes.
Knowing me as you do.
Yes.
Knowing the sick pleasure that
Dude,
I
yes.
take.
I mean, I've seen you buy like ridiculous leather jackets and fucking
Right.
cowboy hats. Dude, you shoot from the hip in the
I
retail
sure do.
sphere.
I sure do. But here's the thing. You're right. I had already made up my mind that I was going to buy this.
Yeah.
But I decided to wait the 10 minutes until these people came in. These furniture insiders. Just to watch them come over to the couch that they had driven all the way to Studio City for and be like, "Is this the one?" And then the lady like, "Yeah." And then they'd see me sitting on it and I would be like, "Sorry, I'm taking it." The pleasure
You did that.
I took in watching their crestfallen faces, in watching their spirits melt.
Is that how it works? If you're sitting on it, you're allowed to say
I
it's
was the
mine?
first one there, and I had already, they'd already taken the tag off of it.
Got
They'd
it.
already rung me up.
And you just waited to see.
I claimed it.
Like you might have to try Restoration Hardware outlet in Livingston, New Jersey.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you bought it, but you were just sitting there waiting.
I hadn't
to
like
watch.
swiped my credit card
But
yet,
you were
but I
about
was
to.
I had already told the
Oh
people
my
who worked
God.
there I was taking
You were
it.
just bouncing.
But I wanted these people, I wanted the pleasure of these people coming in and seeing that I had claimed it already and just being really bummed out.
Was there any part of you that wanted to see if the lady working there was bluffing and that she just said that to make you buy it?
Partly, but I also, I mean, I'm being a little bit like ridiculous. The other thing was that, you know, they came in while I was processing the couch. I didn't like actually wait around
Right.
for it. But I will say that the pleasure of knowing, because these people are so hooked up and so plugged in to the insider black market
crazy,
furniture
bro.
game that they have connections. Like they're like hype beasts who have a
That's
sneaker
funny.
hookup for couches.
They're like
they're hunters.
That's crazy.
And a lot of the time, these people, it's the same deal as the sneaker thing.
It's like
They will-
middle-aged women.
They'll buy the stuff knowing that they can then sell it on a secondary market for a markup.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And so they came in. A lot of these people, they'd been waiting weeks. They'd been hoping for the news of a cloud couch that had not gone to the floor, you know, had not been sat upon. And here it was. They'd gotten their texts.
That's great.
And fortunately, the window was so short that I don't think their connections at the store had sent them text messages saying, sorry, it's already been claimed.
So how do you get that connection? Do you have to like juice these people monthly?
You just go week after week after week. You know, you start bringing them little biscuits.
Right. But I'd be like, yo, cough up the fucking cash. Like I make $20 an hour.
I
Like,
agree.
if you want this couch, you better fucking
I would do the same
hit me
thing.
with a Venmo request.
It may be too that those people who work there get a commission, and so they know that it's their benefit to hit up their own clients
Got it.
to try to like tie that deal together more.
But didn't she still get a commission because you bought it and you talked to her?
She did, but she didn't have any control. Like none of them could control
Right.
who would get
Right.
that.
Interesting.
And only because I arrived early and was cold was I able to be the guy who got this cloud couch.
Crazy, bro.
Dude, it was one of the
yeah.
best, one of the better wins of my life.
Dude,
And
I'm really happy when you get happy about stuff, man.
let me put it this way. The couch is 30 to 40% more comfortable as a result of seeing their disappointed faces. Every time I lie in it, I feel like I am sinking into a bed of their own tears. Do you know what I mean?
Dude, so I don't get that same kind of pleasure
Come
like
on,
that.
Giulio.
Like you, I'm serious.
Giulio!
Maybe.
Giulio!
What is this, Japan?
What is this, Japan? You don't get
Dude,
any
no.
pleasure from getting something that other people wanted.
So there's something I have like a competitive edge to me in some capacity because obviously I played sports like you, but I'm just not that competitive all the time. Like some of my friends would disagree with me, like, but I don't think that they're thinking about it in a complex enough way. Like, sure, if I play video games, I want to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
but-
like when it comes to shit like that, I wouldn't get pleasure knowing that like these other people are miserable.
All right. Hold on a second. Let's say that there's an item that is highly coveted and you get the last one.
Yeah.
It could even be something as simple as,
Of course it feels good.
like, you know, there's a line of people.
That feels
the
good.
PlayStation thing.
That of course feels good, but not, I wasn't like happy about the like people in the second half of the line who didn't get one.
No, I get
But
that.
yes, I'm happy to get one.
You're not okay. So you're not taking pleasure in their
In defeating
downfall.
anybody.
I think
I'm-
there's a really good word for this. Schadenfreude. Although it's a little bit different. I think it's not quite this, but Schadenfreude I think is taking pleasure in like the harm of others.
Okay.
Or like when other people have bad things befall them.
Right, you
So-
feel good about it.
Yeah, and I think it tends to be a little bit more like that this person was injured and it makes you happy, or they like lost money and it makes you happy.
Schadenfreude, the word of the day.
Yeah.
Fill it in, sponsors. If you want to
Pleasure
sponsor the word of
derived
the
by
day.
someone from another person's misfortune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well then I'm gonna say that works. I'm gonna say I nailed that one.
The word of the day brought to you by blank.
Yeah.
Hit us up if you want to.
By the way, we need to backtrack a couple minutes because in previous
Schadenfreude.
episodes I've had a few words that I haven't been able to come up with. one of which was the pattern of the chairs.
Oh yeah.
Houndstooth. Have you ever heard of houndstooth?
Somebody commented that.
Houndstooth is the word.
And I was wondering what the fuck they were talking about, but that's what it was.
A lot of people hit me with tweed. That's what they thought it was. Tweed was not what I was looking for. Houndstooth.
Got it.
Was the pattern of the chairs that we sent back.
Houndstooth.
So
Unbelievable.
we got our cloud couch. It's here. We had people. And okay, to finish this story, because there's one last chapter. Actually, it's more of a coda. I would call this a coda
What the
to the
fuck is
story.
that?
It's like an epilogue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a musical term.
A year later, actually, it
Yeah.
turned out that okay.
It's like exactly.
Yeah.
Like where are they now?
Like
You
the
know?
the new volume has like
Yeah.
extra 10 pages.
a PS or a final update or a yeah. So the story was finished, but here's the coda to this story. So we still have to sell the old couch, and we had these two people come over today to actually look at it, and it was two young women, and one of them had a foreign accent, but I didn't hear her speak enough yet to place it, and they walked in, and I had to like stage the couch again in our living room and push the new one to the periphery
Oh, right.
to try to present it in the best
Right.
light to fetch the most value.
Here it is.
Yeah. And also, the dog is barking because they've arrived. And my girlfriend doesn't want me to let the dog out because in her mind, and I didn't even think of this,
Oh, there's like
if
fur-
they
dog
come in
fur,
and see that we have a dog, they're going to assume that we allow the dog on the couch.
and that it's peed on,
lowers
it or
the
whatever.
value of the couch. And these are all the sorts of things I just like, my head wasn't on a swivel yet.
Dude,
I
it's funny
wasn't-
the idea of like being a sort of like ragtag salesman of your own shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, we've barely even sat on it,
Dude,
Like, what
dude,
do you
I was
say?
fluffing the pillows. I was brushing it off with my hand. I was, telling them how much we loved the couch, but
We
didn't
loved
have a
it.
choice because our new apartment was so much bigger. And they're looking at us like, shut the fuck up. Like,
That's
we'll
great.
try it and we like it. But here's what happened. My girlfriend was doing the same thing. We're both, what's the word? Used car salesman, basically. We're
Yeah,
like,
let me talk to the manager.
yeah, we're teaming up. We're just
Hey,
falling
babe.
right into this hokey, like,
That's hilarious.
Mark Twain bit where we're selling snake oil. To
You
these-
leave the room and she's like, listen, I know he'll go for the low. I know if you go 75% ask, he's going to accept.
You caught him on the right day.
Yeah.
Okay, his members of his family died, and he's been taking it horribly. All right, so yeah, we're doing our little like musical number, dancing around, and my girlfriend goes. She said something like, it's in really good shape. I'm very anal.
Mhm.
She said that, right? And the woman with the accent goes, what? And she goes, I'm anal. I'm like, whatever. And I go, anal retentive. And her friend goes, oh, she's French. She doesn't know what that means. And then I was like, because I speak French, I started speaking to her in French. And immediately we're having this French conversation where I'm like, she looks at me, she goes, anal? Which is butt sex in French. And there's only one meaning. There's no anal retentive.
That's crazy
Or
that
anal
this
in
was the
French.
first time this woman who lives in America ever encountered the term anal, not referring to ass sex. Like, that's crazy to me.
It's a word you don't hear as often as you think, though. And here's the thing, right?
She must have been so confused.
She-
She's like,
of course
oh,
she
anal.
was.
She's like, quoi? She's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I like getting pounded in the ass on this couch.
It's very tidy. We only do butt sex on it. You know me, anal lady. No, but so I explained it to her and we had a good laugh about it. But here's my question, right? Why did we decide that instead of saying all of anal retentive, we would shorten it to anal?
I don't know.
That seems like a contraction that should have been off limits.
I'm trying to think if there's any sort of like similarity to the root of it? Like anal, meaning you're like uptight and the anus is a tight area? Like, is that?
That makes, I mean,
That's not terrible.
I hope that's it, because that would make sense. But it's like one of those things, like imagine we had a term that a lot of people used, an everyday term that was like, I don't know,
69.
blowjob focused. I'm a very blowjob focused person. And that was a totally acceptable term in common language where, it meant like you're career motivated, right? And then would we shorten that to just I'm very blowjob? No.
Right.
Because we know that word is off limits. And yet somehow anal is a totally acceptable term when used one way and not it's a taboo term another way.
Right.
Certainly among strangers and in like,
Dude, it's
common use.
That's a very odd situation. But you're right. It is unusual to have a word that's like so taboo, but yet so also widely used.
Yeah.
Without any adjustments to it.
It's always kind of surprised me. Every time people say I'm anal and like they take pride in it, because it's one of those things where it's like, sorry, I'm so tidy.
Right.
It's a little bit of a, self-promoting thing.
Yeah. Yes. It's like one of those things where like, what are your weaknesses? And it's something that's good.
Yeah.
You're like, I work so hard.
Too hard. Yeah.
I don't have balance.
Yeah. I respond too quickly to emails sometimes. Whatever.
Well, are they going to buy it?
We're waiting to hear from them. Here's a question.
Nibbles, baby, nibbles.
Have you worked in retail? You ever sold shit in anything?
I worked a sales job for 9 months, but like not in a retail store. I never worked in a retail store.
Perfect.
Have you?
No. I've never worked in retail. No. I've been like a bartender and stuff, but not the same. But here's my question. How good were you at evaluating a customer and their likelihood of buying the thing you were trying to sell them? While you were
here's the problem with this. I was 23 and I don't know if this is still true. You guys can decide because I don't want to say this then have everyone shit on me. But I've always looked a little bit younger. So like when I was 23, I looked like I was 17 or 18 and I'd call these guys and I'd be like, "Hey, can I like sell your building for you?" Like, you get them talking. They're like, "Yeah, sure, let's meet." And then I'd show up to their building and they would laugh at me. They would go, "You're going to sell my..." They're like, "Kid, take a seat. All right, listen." Then they start,
Shirley Temple.
Yeah, then they start mansplaining to me. People love to mansplain to me too. I'll be in the parking lot. They're like, "Oh," like they just decide that I need to know something. I'm like, why do I just look like I'm a fucking helpless, like little fucking boy, dude?
I love that people adult-splain to you.
I get mansplained. Yeah, I get adult-splained.
That's
all
really
the time.
funny.
It's frustrating.
Wow, that would be annoying. Does it still happen?
Yes.
In a way, it's a compliment to you.
I guess. But I also like people, like some people you don't say stuff like that to. I think it just says that like people they think that I can take it or something. Like they're not afraid of me being like offended. I don't come off as a person who's going to get offended. That's my perception of it. I might be making that up.
That's good. You're someone who can roll with. That's a huge skill, man, to be somebody who people know can roll with the punches. People like those people more. Yeah,
sometimes it's at my own expense though. And dude, this is the thing about sales that never really worked for me. You have to be willing to make promises that you might not be able to keep. And I would see a lot of these guys get in those situations where they'd be like, "We can sell your building for this." And they'd be like, "Okay, great." 9 months go by. There's no way that that's going to happen. And the person's like, "Why can't we do it?" And then they like put it back on them. They're like, "You need to lower your expectations of the market, blah, blah, blah." It started becoming this like weird thing. And I was like, this is like shitty kind of.
Yeah. Well, that's real estate. I mean,
whatever. But I'm sorry. Sure. I shifted.
No. That was useful. I guess my question is, do you think there's truth to the idea that if you're a very skilled, experienced salesperson, that you can, nobody's ever told me this, but like the moment someone walks into a store, you kind of know like this person's actually going to buy something versus they're not.
Can
you read their body language enough? Do you know that the questions that they're asking, show that they're more and more likely or not to buy the thing?
So I honestly think that there's a way to maybe assess that but while also being humble enough to know that you'll never know,
Mm-hmm.
and that you should give people a sort of baseline of respect
Yeah.
no matter what. Because, dude, have you ever gone into a store and the person like wrote you off?
Totally.
That and they don't think you noticed? I think that's a salesperson who's a step below the salesperson who doesn't give off.
Yeah, but usually
doesn't
that
show that.
happened to me when I would walk into like an Armani wearing flip flops and basketball shorts.
Right. No, totally.
And they'd be like, "Oh, here we go. Can I help you, sir?"
Right,
You know.
right.
And I'm like, "No, I'm just looking around."
There's it's so annoying when those people are condescending about that. It's like you make like a very modest wage and you spend all your money on these clothes. Like you shouldn't be such a cocky fuck.
Fair, but I also understand that. First of all, folding clothes is really annoying.
Sure.
And if I'm coming in there with my sweaty basketball fingers and unfolding sweaters and then doing that thing where I try to fold them myself to put them back, and the way I've done
Put
it
the
is
paper in it.
so inadequate. It's so frumpy. It's like there's this neat stack of very angular, crisp sweaters, and then there's the one on top that fucking moron unfolded, looked at for a second, knowing he wasn't going to buy it. The first thing he did was look at the price tag, gasp, and then refold it.
It's part of the job, dude. You know, folding's your job. You got to refold it. Sorry.
Fine,
What do you think?
fine. It just would, but that's what they always say too, right? I always apologize for it. I'm always like, I'm sorry. How do you feel when you have spent a lot of time in a store, tried on a bunch of different clothes, you've had a specific salesperson dedicate lots of time to you, maybe they've even brought you a bottle of water, you've cracked jokes, they now know what you do for work, and for whatever reason, you decided nothing was perfect and you don't want to buy anything. How much guilt do you have? And are you okay with saying, I'm not buying anything, I'm leaving, goodbye?
So I try to avoid that situation because it's obviously not ideal. I don't love it. I don't want to be in that position, but this is what I do when I am in that position. I try to like, you know, we exchange names, which I'm assuming was implied with what you just said. And then I say that I live in the neighborhood. Because by saying that you live in the neighborhood, it means that you're going to be back and you're going to buy something.
Interesting. Well, that's interesting.
And sometimes it's true and other times it's not. Like I literally just did this. I went to this fragrance store near where I live currently. Really fucking cool store. It's just a giant table of all these fragrances. They're really expensive, but they have these little like bottles on top of the bottle so that you can smell it without having to squirt it, which is an interesting thing.
Okay.
So there's like a little sort of like vase on top of the thing, wherever you smell it, whatever. I smelled like 20 different ones, you know, got the girl's information and was like, yeah, you know, I'll be back. But she liked me. And she was like, listen, she's like, if you want to come in here every morning and spray a different one on, she's like, don't worry. I'm like, that's fine. I was like, oh, this is great.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
That was an ideal way that worked out where I didn't buy anything. It was, they were too expensive for me. It was like $300 or something for a bottle. It's too much. And I didn't want to like seem like a loser by like checking the travel size. Well, how much for the travel size?
Yeah.
Like that always hurts to like be shopping out of your means. Like you never want to admit that.
Will you buy the cheapest thing they have just to, you know, somehow pay for your ticket in the store?
No. I try. So, dude, like if I'm setting out to buy stuff and I don't do it very often, but like I'm going to go try to buy some stuff. So I'll look around, look at t-shirts. And because I'm actually intending to buy something, I don't feel bad about the fact that I might not. But to your point, even though it's a painful situation and a painful process, I still will not just buy something for the sake of buying it so that it's not awkward.
Okay.
What about you?
No, not usually. At this point, I've grown out of that.
Yeah.
There were definitely years when I was younger and more timid where I felt I owed it to people for their time, for wasting their time. And
Which is just incorrect.
Yeah, it is. It is. Hey, Giulio, you look pretty good.
Dude, I don't know if you guys noticed, we swapped up the robes this week.
We sure did. We pulled the old switcheroo.
Switcheroony.
You
We're
bang my
swingers.
wife, I bang yours.
Robe swingers, baby.
Yeah.
I'm rocking the hot llama, and I'm honestly I feel like I'm looking pretty good in this.
Yeah,
color.
don't get used to it because that's mine.
I like you in the deep sea camo though.
I don't mind the deep sea camo, but I like the hot llama better.
This is a nice look on you.
Yeah, you're more of a camo kind of guy,
Perhaps.
and I'm more of a hot llama kind of guy.
That's not a bad call.
But they've got plenty of incredible patterns and things to choose from over at ploverrobes.com/oops, promo code oops, 15% off.
Yeah, these are great robes. They're a great gift. We're in the dog days of winter right now. You need a nice versatile robe to just help you get through these dog days of winter.
That's right. Your lady gets out of the bathtub, hand her a plover robe.
Dude, I got to be honest. If my girl surprised me by coming out of the bathroom in a plover robe and only a plover robe, and then all of a sudden I'm picturing this as a movie, she takes it off and it just goes to the ground. I just see hot llamas slam to the ground. I'd be like, all right, baby, it's fucking go time.
Yeah, the camera would be behind her and she would do a little shrug of the shoulders and say, whoops.
And you see my face be like,
And yeah, you'd be like, boing.
oh, whoa, babe.
Yeah.
This is sick, babe.
Yeah.
Shout out to our pals over at Plover. We love those guys, what they're doing over there.
Sure do.
They're a good group, fun company. Grab one of these robes. They're just a really fun thing to have.
Ploverrobes.com. Sorry. Ploverrobes.com/oops. Promo code oops. How much?
15% off.
15% off. Get them today.
So, dude, this is actually segues into another topic that I wanted to talk to you
Good,
about.
because I think we were done with that one.
This is... Wait, am I missing something?
No.
Okay.
I'm just being an
Yeah.
asshole.
Okay.
It was more on me than you.
No, I wasn't sure if you actually were like, dude, I have much more to say.
No. Let's keep going.
Okay. So anyway, this is a thing that happened to me, and I want to know what your thoughts are. So I went to a Chipotle equivalent kind of place.
Okay.
You walk up.
Sounds like Dos Toros.
They put no, but similar.
Sounds
to that
like Qdoba.
So not the same food genre necessarily, not the same cuisine.
I see what you're saying.
The same structure.
The level.
You show up. What do you want? You have a grain. You get a protein.
Yeah. Sounds
the
like a dig in.
toppings. Whatever. So, not a dig in.
Oh, I feel very mischievous
Okay,
today.
a
I
Chipotle,
feel mischievous.
the same structure as a Chipotle.
Yeah.
And the lady was kind of like scooping my shit in, very sort of cavalier, not paying attention. And I noticed that the scoops are like really skimpy.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the other way with that.
She was just like, the rice, like the scooper thing, which is intended to be the exact measurement. She was going like 60%, dumping it. And dude, I had done a leg workout this morning. Like, that morning, I'm starving.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this meal. I've been looking forward to it all morning. And she kind of like quarter scoops the chicken. And then I just like, at the end of the thing, I look at my bowl and I'm like, and dude, I could see like 50% of the brown on the bowl exposed because of how unfull the bowl was.
This sounds like sweet green. That's my final answer.
It's not.
Damn it.
I know. It's not. It wasn't a salad. Well, I guess Sweet Green has grain bowls and stuff too.
Yeah.
They're a little skimpy there too.
Well, they can be and they cannot be. And the lack of uniform portion
makes
size
it stressful.
Makes you fucking furious.
I know. So this is what happened. So at first I'm like, oh, this is a bummer. Whatever. I'm eating with a friend. We go to his office and he mentions how his is also really skimpy. And I was like, you know what? This is unacceptable. Shoot an email to the place. Get a $6 credit, which is appreciated.
That makes you feel good?
Not necessarily, but like the email literally started with, I hate to be this guy, but I was really looking forward to my meal and it was like pathetic. And I sent them a picture of the bowl.
Yeah.
And my friend did the same thing. And I told my girlfriend and she was like, that's so unattractive.
Really?
She's
really?
like, she goes, why didn't you just tell them in the moment? I was like, because I was going to, you want me to be, hey, can I get some more chicken? Some more chicken. And they're like, well, that's going to be an extra $2. Well, it shouldn't be an extra $2 because you technically didn't put enough in the, like, I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So that's option one. Option two is email. Option three is get fucked, which I'm not willing to do either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what am I supposed to do? Like, am I wrong about that? Like her being like, that is she, I was like, what would you have done? She goes, I wouldn't have done anything. I was like, well, have fun walking through life getting fucked over constantly. And she's like, you're overreacting now, da da da. So
this is the sort of the most, it's a very defining point, right? because I feel, and I sense that you feel, that there is nothing that rankles you, that there's nothing that keeps me up at night tossing and turning on my pillow more than feeling that I was either underserved or taken advantage of.
It sucks, dude.
It haunts your dreams.
It hurts.
And I think your recourse was the best one because you didn't ask to speak to a manager. You didn't single out an employee.
I didn't make a scene.
You didn't make a scene in the store. You weren't a male Karen or whatever the hell that's called.
A McLaren.
But you did get something that made you feel better, and it's no skin off the fucking company's back to send you a $6 credit.
Right.
One time.
So you agree that
I think that's totally fine.
I think that I don't regret doing it. I'm not going to tell her in the future when I score these minor customer service victories.
Yes, because now you know that about her.
I've sort of known it already, and she just thinks it's crazy the lengths that I will go to make sure that I don't get fucked over.
Yeah,
and that I didn't leave money on the table because I got taken advantage of. I don't know.
Well, there are a few different types of people in this world, right? So growing up, my mom was very confrontational. And
really? That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, but yeah, well, she has always been willing to stand up for herself.
That's good.
And I admire it. Because I think confrontational, maybe that's not the right way to put it. She's just not afraid to say this is what I believe in, and this is what I think is fair for me and treatment, whatever. But to the extent that whenever as a family we would go out to dinner, if she was served something, that was either totally undercooked, or let's say she got a piece of fish. This was often what happened. She'd order a piece of fish and the tuna on the inside would be cold.
Right.
And she would get it, and then you cut into it. You take your first bite. The waiter's gone. You realize it's cold. She then would tell the table, our family, I'm going to say something. And my sister would have to get up and go to the bathroom.
She was uncomfortable.
She couldn't handle being around for that.
Right.
It made her so angry and so uncomfortable.
Crazy.
And my dad was wired the same way. But he could at least stand being at the table, but he is not someone who would ever say anything. He would rather choke down still frozen food at a restaurant
than say anything.
And I'm somewhere in the middle,
Dude, yeah, if the middle of your tuna steak is cold, why should you eat cold tuna? Correct. I understand if it's cooked a little more. I knew people who would be like, you call this medium rare? That, in my opinion, is going too far.
What about wine? This is the thing for me that is so hard, right? Because if you order a bottle of wine and they always come over and they pour you that tiny little bit to taste.
Sniff and taste.
Have you ever sent the bottle back? Have you ever said, this isn't right?
So I have an older pal. He's my dad's friend, my friend's dad, who's also my friend. He does this, and it's really funny. And this is only a joke that an older guy can pull off. I've tried to do it, and it just comes off as pretentious and but he'll get the wine and he'll go to smell it and he'll go, ugh. He makes this just ghastly reaction. He's like, oh my God. And then he tries it and he goes, it's very good. It's very good.
And then he says it's good.
Yes, that's how the joke ends.
Okay.
Which I think is hilarious.
That is good. That's a good bit.
But I agree. Sending the wine back is crazy.
Once they've opened the bottle.
Dude, do you even develop a true wine taste bud at this age? Maybe by now. I still wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But as a 25-year-old, sending back a bottle of wine, literally, are you kidding me?
Dude, wine is binary for me. It's either good or tolerable.
Right.
Those are the two options.
Have you ever sent back a bottle of wine?
No.
Me either.
And the only time that I've drunk full bottles of wine that I did not enjoy.
Yeah.
And usually that's because I don't like wine that has any sort of effervescence or bubbly quality to
Oh.
it. If it's even marginally sort of sparkly or whatever, I hate that. Or too sweet. I can't stand wine that's too sweet.
Oh,
However, I have gritted my teeth through a bottle of wine that we've ordered because I know that if you've opened the bottle of the wine at the restaurant, what option do they have? Especially if it's not a wine that they serve by the glass on the menu, they can't convert that sold bottle to wines by the glass. And then they're out
Oh, that's
a
interesting.
full bottle of wine.
I wonder though, like maybe like they put it at the bar and they're like, "What reds do you have?" And he's like, "Oh, I have this. It's good." They must
Maybe.
have a way to recycle that. But dude, I agree. It's a crazy thing to be sending it back. The only scenarios I picture where you're sending it back is a person who like really knows their wine or is a really good customer
Mhm.
at a place. I've seen someone send back a bottle of wine before, but he was like the guy that they put the table in the front of the restaurant for, like that whole old fashioned thing.
Yeah.
Or some dude who's on a date who's like trying too hard. He's like, "Oh, it's just a little smoky."
I knew a guy, an ex-girlfriend's dad, who considered himself a full-on sommelier. And granted, he inherited a wine cellar from a dear friend of his who passed away that was cavernous. I mean, it was hundreds of bottles of wine, maybe
That's crazy.
well over 2,000.
It's crazy.
And they were 1975 Chateau Margaux, Rothschild, whatever. Super, like names
Really
you've heard of
expensive,
where
yeah.
you're like, you look at it on a menu and it's $4,000, whatever. He had a bunch of those.
Crazy.
And so I do think he knew his wines.
And he must have like the reason he inherited that was probably because his friend knew how much he loved wine.
That's probably
It's not
true.
like the
Yeah.
cellar made him into a wine guy. He was a wine guy, thus why he got the cellar, which made him more of a wine guy.
Correct. But he going out to dinner with
This guy's a
him.
wine guy.
I mean, dude, this guy, it was a 50-50 shot that the bottle was going back. And I watched him once at a restaurant send multiple bottles back.
Dude.
So like they opened one, brought it out, he tasted it, no good, send it back, bring out a new one, different kind, taste it, no good, send it back.
Damn, dude.
Then you're talking about, I mean, that's a tax on the restaurant.
Yeah, that's bad. That's I mean, it's just not an ideal situation for anybody. Dude, what about this? Have you ever had a guy like the waiter sort of convince you into buying a more expensive bottle of wine? Like, when they're like, you're like, "What's a good one?" And they kind of like, they usually will give you an option that's like not the least expensive, but it's like towards the bottom of the price menu. Like for Valentine's Day, Hillary and I's first Valentine's Day, I was in LA for a month and she came, 2 weeks into that. And I was like nervous, dude. Like we'd been dating like a few months.
That's fun.
We had been calling each other. We'd been talking on the phone a bunch. Like, when you don't see somebody for a while
Yeah,
and like, that's sort of like AIM syndrome.
that's fun.
You're all weird around them. So I was like all weird. And then she was like, "You're not talking. Like, what's going on?" I was like, "I'm nervous."
Ooh,
I literally said that
how
on the day.
cute is that?
I know. So we go to
That's
this restaurant
cute.
in Santa Monica,
It's disarming.
right? So we sit down and I start trying to like figure out half bottles. Also, like money was very tight for me at the time.
Mhm.
So, this was like a procured expense. I was ready to drop some cash on this that I didn't have.
Yep.
And the waiter, I start being like, "What is a good wine?" He goes, "I recommend this one, sir." And I'm like, "What about this one?" And this was like the less expensive one. He's like, No, that one's no good. And I was
Wow.
like, fuck, dude. I was
Well-
like, all right, whatever, fine.
I do like the fact that when you have someone who really knows their wine as a waiter or a sommelier, they are not afraid to ask you the question, "What's your price range?" That's
Yeah,
not
it's not
that's not an uncouth question to ask in wine. Whereas in so many other things, it is. In so many other things, you wouldn't say like, "Well, what are you willing to spend?"
Right.
You wouldn't do that at a clothing store, at a shoe store.
Right.
So I do like that because then what I find is they always do this. They always, you say like, "I'm willing to spend $80 on a bottle of wine." They will give you a $75 option and then they'll give you a
$100.
$90 to $100 option. That's like, then they'll be like, it's a little above.
But it's very nice. This one's very nice.
Yeah, and they're like, I dare you to be a bitch and go with the one and stick to your budget,
Crazy, dude.
But that sucks, dude. Yeah, I mean, you feel bullied and you don't want to look shitty in front of, your new girlfriend or whatever.
Dude, it sucked. And this guy was just like the classic, like little alpha male European guy.
Mm.
Like, and this is, it was an Italian restaurant. I don't know why I gave him a French accent,
Yeah, I heard that.
but Italian restaurant. And honestly, these Italian guys, dude, they're just such like little fucking shit alpha males. They're just these little wiener guys who just think they'll talk so much shit. They'll fucking hit on your girl right in front of you. You're like,
Yeah.
dude, I'll fucking step on you, dude.
Yeah,
what are you
you will.
doing? Like,
Now, just for the record, Giulio's last name is Gallerati.
yeah, I'm Italian.
He's
I'm allowed to do
Italian.
that.
He is allowed to say these things
Correct.
about the Italian people.
About my people.
Yeah.
Fuckers. Dude, they really are little fuckers, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, boy, oh boy.
Chris,
All right.
what do you got?
My grandfather makes wine every year, so one time I'll bring some and we'll have some.
Awesome.
That
That's
sounds
very,
fun.
what kind of wine?
Red wine. Well, he makes a little bit of white, but for cooking.
I was going to say before, Italian, that's a very Italian thing, obviously, too. Like, all my relatives in Italy make their own wine, too.
Cool.
And there'll be jokes about it. Like, some people's wine is, like, really strong. They'll be like, oh, Giovanni's wine's like fucking turpentine.
Homemade wine, it's super strong. You
Yeah,
have
it's
like
strong
one
as fuck.
glass and you're like, ooh.
But they make a lot of, like, effervescent reds, which
I don't like
I know,
that.
but they're not sweet. I wonder if you would like
Yeah,
it.
I don't like
You just
bubbly
don't like bubbles, huh?
whatsoever.
You're just not a bubble boy.
No.
You're not
Just
a
makes
bubble
me,
boy?
to me, it tastes like the wine's gone bad. Because you know when wine does go bad, it ferments and then it becomes somewhat fizzy. And I don't like, so anything that's fizzy whatsoever, I hate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Dude, I had a fun idea for us, and we can talk about this more off the air, but Francis and I have been talking about different kind of like activities we could do and document that would be fun or funny or sort of like whatever that might mean. But one thing that I was thinking about that could be funny for us to do, I was looking into survival courses.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that.
And there's a survival course that is called Anti-Terrorism Hostage Survival Training Course.
Wow, I mean, might as well start at the top.
Should we do it?
I was thinking it would be like build a fire or
Dude,
learn
and
how
the-
to skin a rabbit.
And the things that they teach you how to do are crazy. It's like how to collect intelligence and repatriation. Like it's the full running the gambit of how to like deal with that kind of situation. And I wonder what that would be like, dude. That could be fun to like do and film.
Yes, and yes, I am surprised that course is available.
I emailed them and they said that it will likely be offered in the summer. This summer.
And what? Okay,
Upstate.
so what? Who takes that?
Dude, I don't know. It must be, I wonder if it's like a combination of like sort of like survivalist people, like the people who like buy plots of doomsday preppers maybe. But I feel like there's value to it too. Like who knows, man, you know, especially on my fucking escapades. If I ever get into a prickly situation.
Give me the name of the course one more time.
Anti-terrorism hostage survival training course.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean that's so extreme
I know.
that you would think I might be putting myself in situations where this knowledge would be handy. I don't know the people that foresee that.
Totally. Cause like if you actually are one of those people, you get training from the military or
Yeah.
like your private defense contractor.
I could see sort of photojournalists who are being sent to active war zones.
Right.
I could see that, but then you would think, yeah, they might have some military liaison who could offer a more real course or whatever.
Totally.
I took a self-defense class once.
Oh yeah?
Did I
Was
tell you
it
about
like
this?
a seminar? Like what?
No, it was.
It was like once a
We
week.
were grappling with each other.
Jesus.
So it was mixed martial arts and street fighting. That was the name of the course. And I always thought MMA was super cool when it started really becoming popular, and I just wanted to give it a shot. I think part of the reason was that I had that fight where I got beat up really badly.
Yeah.
And I just said, I need to have some kind of sense of how to protect myself if that ever happens again. So I was in New York, and there's so many if you look up to the second or third floor of a lot of buildings in New York, there's always like some, Royce Gracie's Tiger Den Jiu-Jitsu studio.
Tiger Schulman.
Yeah. Kickboxing, Muay Thai. All these, they're always on like the second, third
Yes.
floor. It's always a walk up. and it's converted ballet studio that now
Totally,
is,
dude.
you know, has pads on the ground and is someplace that guys come on Tuesday nights and grapple with each other or whatever.
He has a tiger embroidered on his uniform.
This guy that led the class, though, the class was so specific to you're outside of a bar and you're getting jumped.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't like, you know, this is how to put somebody in an arm bar and win a fight or whatever. It was like a guy's got a knife. Here's how you come out of it.
When he showed you examples, did he go, yeah?
He didn't, but when he would throw punches and show how to throw the punches, he would do that thing. He would do the thing where he goes, yeah. There was just a little bit of that exhale through the teeth, the half whistle exhale.
Dude.
Why do they do that?
I guess like it's like the same way tennis players
Grunt.
The same, exactly.
Yeah,
Like the breath release helps you execute
interesting.
like weightlifting.
That's how, by the way, I always think whenever I hear somebody punching and doing that, I'm like, this person knows what they're doing. He's got the whistle. He's got the teeth whistle exhale thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, the class was, I mean, it was interesting. But I remember the guy's face was just like pummeled to bits. All the bones were in the wrong place. He had scars, those ugly kind of jagged scars, cheekbones that were poking out the wrong
This
angle.
guy's just looking for trouble.
He'd been in through some wars.
Yeah.
And
Like actual wars?
I don't
You
think
know.
as a soldier. I mean, just, you know,
Right.
probably he'd been in a few like 12-on-10 brawls.
Jesus.
And he was a wiry guy. You could tell from the way that he was throwing punches. He knew what he was doing. And it was scary. It was that level of violence and just that people, you know, expect that they might come against that at some point in their life. You hope you never do.
Right.
But dude, speaking of this, did you see the Lady Gaga dog napping video?
I didn't see the video.
There's a video of it.
Does he get killed in the video?
He doesn't get killed and he's stabilized and he's expected to make a full recovery.
He's fine?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've read.
So I read a little bit about the story this morning. I think you're more familiar with it than I am. Can you like give us a brief rundown?
Yeah. And by the time this episode comes out, I know this story will be a little more in the past maybe, but Lady Gaga has a dog walker. She has 3 French bulldogs. We have 1. Our French bulldog's name is Kojai. She has a French bulldog named Koji. Koji.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And her dog walker was out walking the dogs at 9:40 p.m. in Los Angeles, and a white sedan pulled up alongside. People got out, started yelling at him, give them up, and the dog walker wouldn't.
Damn.
He starts screaming, no, no, in a very high-pitched tone. Understandably, he's terrified. They're wrestling kind of for these dogs, and there are multiple people trying to take them from him. At some point, by the way, this goes on for like 30 seconds and he's screaming. At some point, someone fires a gun,
Jesus.
shoots him.
It's crazy.
And even against all that, the story I read was that he still held on to one of the dogs, and they took 2 of them, got in the car, raced off, and he's lying on the ground, bleeding, having been shot.
Oh my God.
Someone comes up, calls 911 for him. As he's lying on the ground, he's like, oh my God, I'm bleeding out. The guy's like, don't worry, help's on the way. And he admits that they're Lady Gaga's dogs, right? Guy gets taken to the hospital. He's expected to make a full recovery, thank God. Lady Gaga offers $500,000, no questions asked, for the return of the dogs.
Is that, they always say that. Can you ever actually really expect to return the dogs and get the money and no questions asked? Can you really expect that?
All right. I have 2 follow-up questions to your question.
Love it.
The first is it even up to her? Someone gets shot.
I don't know.
How is she able to say,
Totally.
if you bring these dogs back, no crimes will be charged against you?
Dude, totally.
You shot somebody.
Also, Dude, that guy was probably making $50 to walk those dogs. If two people roll up on me with a van and a fucking gun, I immediately give them the dogs.
100%. So this is the second question. What can he reasonably expect Lady Gaga to either do for him or to pay him, given that she has already made it clear she was willing to spend 500 G's on the dogs, and this guy took a bullet for the dogs and held on to the third one.
Yeah.
What is reasonable that she should give him? What's the reasonable amount of money?
Six-figure sum for sure.
Yeah.
And it just makes
Now,
me wonder too.
Can you say that as a number? Because that we've talked about this.
Okay, fine,
Six
sure.
digits to me is
It could be 100K, it could be 800K. Like, is what you're saying. There's too big of a range.
First of all, that's too low.
Okay, fine.
It has to be more than what she offered for the dogs.
I think that's a good point. This is the thing. I wonder what was happening there. Like, it doesn't sound like the guy, it sounds like it was a targeted hit on the dogs, maybe.
Do you think that these people knew that they were Lady Gaga's dogs?
It sounds like maybe, and if not, they're in like a fancy neighborhood. Maybe these guys were just being like, they were out to score and they were going to grab dogs in whatever expensive neighborhood this is in, and they were going to make money on it, whatever. Unless, like, at first when I read the story, I was like, is the fucking dog walker just into shady shit? But it doesn't sound like it.
No, I don't think
it was
so.
about the dogs. Okay,
Yeah.
so, I mean, you got to think, A, she's going to cover all of his medical expenses, obviously. And B, she has to give him money because it'll just look bad if she doesn't. So that guy's chilling. And I wonder if that was going through his head. He's like, here's my chance. I'm taking a bullet for these dogs and I'm cashing in. I walk dogs for a living. I hate it. I hate doing it. I make $50 a day.
Yeah, but he's walking Lady Gaga's dog, so he's plugged in, dude. This is a celebrity dog walker. And you know that if he's walking Lady Gaga's dogs, he's probably walking John Krasinski and Emily Blunt's dogs.
Right.
He's probably
That's a good
walking
point.
Jimmy Fallon's dogs, and he's probably walking
Prince Harry's dog.
Yeah, this guy has a day filled with very elite dogs. Because they're referring to each other.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Next time he's interviewing, he's going to be like, this is what I'm willing to do for your dogs. And we'll show them a video of him getting shot.
I agree. But okay, so what? Yes, I think medical bills paid for, obviously.
Obviously.
I don't know that necessarily it's going to be publicized what Lady Gaga offers him, right? And it's also possible that he might be the type of guy who says, like, don't pay me anything. This is who, I did what anyone would do. I don't know.
I mean, maybe you do that as a formality, the way when they're like, stay. And you're like, oh, I should get going. They're like, no, please stay. And you're like, oh, are you sure?
Yeah, eventually you give in.
It might just become one of those situations.
I think it makes more sense for her to like buy him a house. But dude, to me, like $1 million is the minimum number.
Wow, interesting.
$1 million. Dude, he took a bullet
for her dogs.
Walking her dogs. And she's offered $500,000
as
for
a
two
ransom.
of them.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
$250,000 a head for a dog.
You're right.
What is the value of human life? He could have been killed.
You're right, for sure. But I still think that you always gift a dollar amount, because if you gift somebody something with like tax implications, that just like maybe they're not prepared for that.
It's fine.
They need to learn that.
You're fine.
Side thought, doesn't matter. But you're right. Maybe it should be higher number than
I think $1 million is the minimum.
I'm fine with that.
Based on the fact that she offered so much for the dogs. She might have played her hand too early by offering so much for the dogs.
Also, he saved one of the dogs too. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
this guy's a G, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible story. And obviously as of this moment, we do hope that the dogs are returned safely. But I have to say, I hate to say this, if there is a way that those dog nappers can collect that ransom without getting caught, I mean, that is a very profitable crime.
Totally. That sets a very dangerous precedent.
That is a you hope you don't have to shoot somebody. I don't know, dog napping. Like you don't think of dog napping as being something that's.
It's kind of clever because, people aren't as invested in it as if it was a person. So maybe
kidnapping is no joke. That's
Kidnapping's
a
a
super
real-
difficult thing.
That's a crazy one.
That seems like a nightmare, kidnapping
Dude.
somebody.
Terrible.
'Cause then you have to feed them, and then you have to like bring them a bucket to go to the bathroom in. And
Totally. You start dating them.
how do you, you have conversations with them, you bond.
Dude.
Next thing you know, they have Stockholm syndrome. As you
Yeah.
said, they start dating, and then you're in this weird relationship with somebody that you,
Are holding
Took?
captive.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, kidnapping. Okay. What are the crimes that what are the crimes that you could reasonably see yourself doing?
The crimes that I could reasonably see.
Yeah, you
myself
won't
doing.
do it, but like what's the closest? What's the most the one where you're like if I had to
Tempting?
commit a crime,
Some sort of like financial fraud, probably. At no one's expense. Maybe at the expense of like some big company or something.
so you like that's a very noble answer, a victimless crime. you
Victimless
say.
crime. Always. I can't imagine consciously perpetrating a crime against somebody else.
Harming somebody seems
not
out of the question
out of the
to me.
question.
But dog napping,
It's not terrible.
I'm starting to warm up to this idea. In a wealthy neighborhood, like you said,
The dog
celebrity
doesn't know
dogs.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll feed it. I'll walk it wearing a mask.
It's another good video idea.
Yeah.
We just change our voices. If you want your dog back.
Oh, that's Oops the Podcast. Tell us what crimes you've committed. Send us emails, oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. What's the policy where you're not going to get in trouble? Amnesty.
Oh, yeah.
We grant
We'll
you
provide you
amnesty
amnesty.
if you send us a crime you've committed. We want to hear about it. Follow the YouTube. Follow the Instagram. I'm Francis C.C. Ellis. He's not Julio with a J. Check out Pack Light, Giulio's travel podcast. And we will see you guys soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
If you like this video, we have a bunch more. Just like and subscribe to our channel, and you can get all the videos you want.
Oops.